Galactus is coming. Like, one more time for y'all. Galactus is on his way to Earth to devour it. What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to cover the next big crossover for the Heroes Reborn reality, better known as Heroes Reunited. Now, Heroes Reunited is really more the idea of our heroes coming together because, well, Galactus is coming. And the thing is, in our last few videos that we had covered for the Heroes Reborn reality, we kept seeing the idea of Galactus on his way, like small glimpses here and there, like, okay, he's coming again, he'll be there very soon, but now it's time for him to come to Earth. But for our heroes, they kind of ignored all these different hints of the idea of Galactus, but the problem is kind of like, no. You guys now need to get ready because here he comes. And so in today's video, we're going to cover the prologue and also part 1 of Heroes Reunited. And really, as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we pick up with the Silver Surfer. Now, for the Silver Surfer, let's not forget that he's kind of the reason why our heroes, the Fantastic Four, were able to get their abilities, but also, like, he was captured by Dr. Doom. Now, with him being captured by Dr. Doom and having the Fantastic Four and also Black Panther going out of their way to save his life, it's kind of him feeling bad about the idea of Galactus heading over to their planet. Now, for Galactus, he already sent over his heralds to kind of get the Earth ready for his consumption. But for the Silver Surfer, it's him kind of wondering, how can he save his friends? Or possibly, how can he save the entire planet? And so, even though the other heralds have made their way over to the Earth, it's him saying now, like, okay, I need to get there in a hurry to kind of help them out because the heralds are really powerful and our heroes don't truly stand a chance against the heralds of Galactus. It's kind of sad to see because for the Fantastic Four, they're kind of just hanging out and minding their business. Like, for example, Alicia Masters is making a sculpture of Ben Grimm, kind of showing like their relationship has grown a lot. And it's kind of cool to see, but at the same time, you already know by the end of this series, this right here won't technically matter anymore, but we do shift over to Reed and Sue. And for Reed and Sue, it's really important here because it's Susan telling Reed like, hey, I'm pregnant. Now, let's not forget, when it came to Susan, she was told in this reality that she was not able to have children. But the thing is, she went over to the main Marvel universe and she saw her, well, original version of herself with a son, Franklin Richards. But once she came back to her supposed reality, is her kind of realizing like, okay, I want to be a mother. And right now, she's pregnant. Now, you do have Susan go ahead and call up Johnny Storm and say, hey, brother, we're having dinner. We got some big news. But for Johnny Storm, he's kind of in this mindset right now where he's just upset about the idea that they had to leave the Inhumans behind because he's fallen in love with Crystal. And so because of that, you have Johnny right now just in the training room, just going extreme levels to kind of keep his mind off the idea of Crystal. But the problem is, once he does finish his training session, his mind goes straight back over to who? Crystal once again. But now we have to shift our focus back over to Terrax. Now, when it comes to Terrax, it's him right now just arriving on Earth. He's one of the heralds of Galactus, and he was tasked to get the world ready for the consumption of Galactus, which means like take out any possible threats that could take down Galactus, like the Fantastic Four, because the Silver Surfer told Galactus about them. And so for Terrax, he can see like, yeah, y'all got some cosmic powers in y'all, but like, hey, it doesn't matter. You still gotta go. And so you do have our heroes try their best to fight against this powerful being who's not really easy to take down. And it kind of shows here because, yeah, for Susan Storm, she is able to put a force field around her to protect herself. But the problem is, like, for Terrax, this man knows what to do. And so he shakes the ground underneath her as a way to attack her. And so just like that, he's showing that no matter what, he has different ways to attack people. Now, when it comes to Reed, of course, he gets very upset about the idea of his girlfriend being attacked at the moment, especially now because she's pregnant. But the problem is Reed's not powerful enough to take on a guy like Terrax by himself. So, of course, he's also taken out very easily. Now, when it comes to Susan, she tries her best to call up her brother, the Human Torch, who's back at the Baxter building. The problem is that for Johnny, he's not looking at his communicator. Why? Because again, he's still madly in love with Crystal. He missed Crystal so much that he keeps looking at pictures of her. And while you have everything popping off over there for Galactus, this man is truthfully on his way over to the Earth. And so for Galactus, while being in his spacecraft, he looks over data about the Earth. And for this guy, he's getting really hyped about the idea of consuming the Earth because he realized there is a lot of life energy there. And so for him, he's kind of like, this is perfect. All that life energy for myself is pretty great. But as we do switch back over to Johnny Storm, it's him realizing that things have truthfully popped off back at the park with the rest of the Fantastic Four. So you do have Johnny head over there to kind of help them out. Except when he does arrive, you have him and Ben being able to work together to take down Terrax. Now, right after you have our two heroes being able to, take down Terrax for the time being, you then have the two go look for Reed and Susan. Now, they do find Reed. When they find Reed, they are then informed about the idea that Susan is pregnant. So, of course, everyone is excited, but here comes the big problem, though, because yes, they did defeat Terrax. But like I said earlier, the rest of the heralds of Galactus were also sent over to the Earth, which means here comes Firelord and also Plasma, two other heralds of Galactus. And of course, for our heroes, it took a lot for them to just take down Terrax. But now they gotta fight against two more heralds of Galactus. And this leads into Heroes Reunited Part 1. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we do pick up with Dr. Doom. Now, this is Dr. Doom arriving at New York City, arriving at the Laverian Embassy. And the reason why, because inside this place, he had his robots work on a brand new armor suit. Now, this armor suit will allow him the ability to siphon off the energy of somebody who has cosmic powers. Like, I don't know, Terrax or Plasma or Firelord or hey, maybe Galactus. But it's Dr. Doom saying like he believes it's officially ready. Now, let's not forget, when it came to Dr. Doom, he was confronted by a future version of himself that tried to warn him about their future and handed him a card that held information about their future. But for Dr. Doom, he took that card and added it into his armor suit. But now we're kind of able to switch over to the Fantastic Four as you do have the Human Torch in the Thing wanting to fight against the Heralds of Galactus. Now, of course, this is a bad idea because it took the entire team to defeat just one of the Heralds of Galactus. But now you're talking about three of them. Now, for Reed, he tries his best to kind of talk everything out. But with the idea of Terrax being a hothead character and also Ben Grimm as well, of course, it does lead into a battle. But like I said, these guys are heralds of Galactus, so technically our heroes do not even stand a chance against these guys. But luckily for our heroes, you do have the Silver Surfer arrive at the very last second. And this is really more of the Silver Surfer kind of telling us, the readers, but also the other heralds of Galactus, that he looks at the Fantastic Four as not just heroes or just powerful beings, but also as his friends. Now, you do have Terrax kind of confused about the idea of the Silver Surfer kind of not really doing what their master had asked him to do. But you didn't have Galactus call back his heralds, and you have all four of them leave just like that. But right after you have the Heralds of Galactus leave, you then have our heroes be called up by S.H.I.E.L.D. And so you have our heroes head over to the helicarrier. Now, this begins the process of the actual crossover. So the Fantastic Four are being confronted by Nick Fury and also the Avengers. And so you do have Nick Fury say like, hey guys, listen, this room right here, it handles space problems. And we kind of find out that you had S.H.I.E.L.D. detected the spacecraft that Galactus used as a way to travel across the universe. And apparently he had just passed the moon. So he's right outside the Earth space at the moment. And so you had Nick go ahead and sent out these probes to kind of get a good idea of what they're looking at. Now, most of their probes do get destroyed, except for one. And so it's now our heroes getting their first look at the spacecraft that belongs to Galactus. Now, on the actual spacecraft, we do pick up with the Heralds of Galactus meeting up with, well, Galactus. And this is Galactus saying that he feels like it's officially time to begin the process of consuming the Earth. Now, for the Silver Surfer, he wants to have a conversation with Galactus, possibly convince him to leave Earth alone. But again, earlier we saw that for Galactus, the Earth right now is holding a lot of energy that he would love to consume. And so, unfortunately, he tells Surfer, no, let's go ahead and move on with our plans. But getting back over to our heroes, is our heroes right now listening to Reed Richards, because for Reed, he's kind of telling the heroes what he realized throughout the entire series. The whole idea of all these things being connected. The Silver Surfer, Galactus, the Skrulls, the Inhumans, Mole Man. In some crazy way, all these different things are connected to one another. And so for Reed, as he goes on with his speech, that is when S.H.I.E.L.D. is then informed about some kind of new device that Galactus had just released. Now, this device is breaking apart into multiple components that will travel across the Earth. And so for our heroes, what they want to do is go to those different locations and try their best to get rid of those components. Now, for Reed, he'll stay behind. And the reason why, because he's going to try his best to create a device that should possibly help our heroes win against Galactus. So this leads into the first team to go after the first component that did crash land in the Himalayas by Firelord putting it there. Now, the first team is the Human Torch and the Inhumans. Now, this makes a lot of sense. And the reason why, because as we all know, for Johnny Storm, he's madly in love with Crystal, but also he wants to help out the Inhumans. Now, here's the thing, because Firelord is actually a very strong opponent. And even though you do have the Human Torch there, when it comes to Firelord, his powers are completely different from the Human Torch. So unfortunately for Johnny, he's not really able to do anything to Firelord, but Firelord can. Now, you do have Firelord kind of tell us that the humans should not be trying to attack him because he is a herald of Galactus. And let's not forget, when it came to the Inhumans, they looked at Galactus and his heralds as pantheons, as gods. And so you have Firelord say like, hey, you can't attack me because, as you all know, once the Earth is consumed, your energy, your souls will go into your great god, better known as Galactus. And so now the question is, do the Inhumans attack Firelord to save the Earth or not do anything because of their culture? But you have Black Bolt choose the idea of saving the planet. And so for Black Bolt, he does attack the component that Firelord had placed down. Now, here's the problem though, because this component is storing a lot of energy. So with the idea of our heroes trying to get rid of it, of course, it begins to blow up. And so we're kind of left to believe of the idea that, well, the Inhumans plus the Human Torch had just died. Now, the second team will be the Avengers, and they went over to Monster Island. And the reason why, because Plasma, the other herald of Galactus, well, she had placed her component right on Monster Island. So you do have our heroes arrive there and try their best to get rid of it. The problem is, it's our heroes fighting against Plasma, but also fighting against Mole Man, because Monster Island is Mole Man's home. Now, while you do have our heroes being able to fight against both Plasma and also Mole Man, the component has been activated. And so you have Namor go ahead and say, you know what? Let me sacrifice my life as a way to save the world. And so you have Namor take the component into the depths of a trench nearby, hoping the water pressure will be strong enough to just go ahead and destroy the component, but also making sure the explosion does not hit our heroes nor Monster Island. Now, for the surviving heroes, they do go back over to New York, except when they do, they're now seeing S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to fight against Galactus, which honestly is a bad idea, but they're trying. And you have Nick trying to use the helicarrier as a way to attack Galactus with all the weapons on the helicarrier. But you have Galactus take one shot, and just like that, the helicarrier is now about to blow up. And the reason why? Because of the reactor core. And so you have Nick tell all of his agents to get the heck out of there. Because for Nick, what he's going to do now is pilot the helicarrier over to Galactus, hoping that when the reactor core blows up, it might do some serious damage to Galactus or possibly stop him, but also his devices as well. And so for our heroes, unfortunately, they have to watch Nick Fury give up his life to hopefully save the world. And so just like that, there is an explosion. Except for Nick Fury, his plan does not work at all because you have Galactus survive the explosion, but you didn't have Galactus use the metal on the different skyscrapers around him to repair the damage done to his devices that Nick Fury had tried to blow up. So technically, Nick's plan had completely failed. And so for our heroes, they're kind of like, okay, we got to retreat right now because technically we're losing this battle. We got to find a way to stop this guy. And so this kind of leads into our heroes having a meeting, right? Now, when our heroes do have this meeting, it's really more of Reed trying to re-explain everything to us again. Like, hey, you know, those components out there, they are technically being used as a way to kind of get the Earth ready for Galactus to consume. Now, once you do have our heroes learn that lesson right there, we also learn here that for Reed, he had created this device that should allow our heroes to fight against the cosmic beings, like nullify their cosmic attacks. Now, you do have Ben Grimm go ahead and put on the device, but while you do have our heroes talking to one another, two things happen. The first is that you have Susan find out that Johnny is dead. But now our heroes are once again attacked by Terrax. Now for our heroes, they're really able to take care of Terrax very easily now, thanks to Ben Grimm's device. Sorry, Reed Richards' device, not Ben Grimm's device. But with Terrax being handled, you then have our heroes shift their focus onto taking out the main device that Galactus is currently using. The problem is that all their different weapons are not really working when it comes to trying to get rid of it. Now, the last few pages of the storyline, man, it's really rough for our heroes because you have Ben Grimm say, you know what, let me go ahead and use the device that Reed gave me and absorb the energy of Galactus. The problem is that you have Galactus go ahead and take all the energy that Ben Grimm had absorbed from Terrax, but also Ben Grimm's cosmic energy as well, turning him back into a regular human, but also knocking him out and Thor out as well. Just like that in a matter of seconds. That's not even the rough part. The rough part is that you have Black Panther and also Ben Grimm be killed off by Terrax in a matter of seconds. Now things get even worse because you didn't have Terrax say like, oh, humans, you're wrong. You see, you thought there were only 3 components that were placed across the Earth. There was a 4th one. There is another Herald of Galactus, and that would be Airwalker. Now you do have Terrax say, you know what, it's now time for me to kill off the rest of the heroes. But you do have the Silver Surfer try to step in and stop Terrax. And this leads into the final moments of this storyline, the final moments of the Earth. Yes, you heard that right, because when it comes to our heroes, they're trying to regroup, but you didn't have Dr. Doom arrive. Now for Dr. Doom, he's still trying his best to absorb the energy of somewhat cosmic powers. So of course, he goes over to Galactus, and Galactus sends him flying the other direction in like a matter of seconds. The problem is that it distracted Reed long enough to allow allowed Galactus the ability to turn on his machine. And so just like that, the entire Earth was just consumed by Galactus. Now, at the very last second, you have Doctor Doom go back in time. But the book ends on that note, and that was just the first chapter of the storyline. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.